Welcome back, everybody, to another Watchtower. That's right, we are back. We are back with a DC Watchtower. We're going to talk about what's next. What's going to be coming after these few projects that are already announced in production, post-production, pre-production, whatever it is. After these few projects, what could James Gunn have up his sleeve? That's going to be the main topic of discussion, but we are going to talk about a few other things because, well, some interesting things came up over the last few days. So let's get into it, everyone. Glad you are here. Glad you could make it. I saw a few of you guys were in the chat for the last 30, 40 minutes, just talking away. Crazy. What's going on, guys? Hope for Life, Xander Wild, Otito, what is going on? I saw you guys in there talking away, having a great discussion. Great to see my community growing and just getting along with each other. That's what I like to see. That's what this is all about. It's about everybody coming together as a community, discussing, and coming together as one. That's what's exciting. That's what we want to see, right? That's what we want to see. That's what I like to see. That's right. We're going to talk about what's going to be coming for the DCU. What's next after Superman, Supergirl, Peacemaker, Lanterns? What's next? Creature Commandos? What's after that? What is after all this? Because we know these 5 projects. Those are the first 5 projects that are up, but what's coming after that? So that's what we're going to talk about. That is what we're going to talk about. Oddly enough, there's nothing in the chat for me to pop up right now. That's weird. You guys talking in the chat? I see it over on YouTube, but it's not popping up in my chat here. No comments are popping up. Is it working here? There we go. Interesting. Well, it's not popping up here. I'm not going to be able to highlight the chat, but I might have to put it on an overlay like that. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on with the chat today. That's bizarre. All right. Well, hey, we'll make it work. We'll make it work any way we can to make sure it's going on. Otito says, what's up? What's good, Slav? Tito says, hey. Xander says, what's good, Slav? Hope for Life. I wish that there was a way to message Gunn, but I hope he is watching. Yes, indeed. That would be great for sure. Hungry Almighty says, easy answer. Batman, Brave and Bold. Jacob Palmer. Hi. Hello. And there's a whole bunch of comments in here as well. Anyways, let's kind of get into the first thing I want to talk about, because this first thing is something that I maybe you're in here. I'm sorry if it was you in the comments here. If you're watching, this was a great idea, and I wanted to bring it over to Watchtower. I think Monday shows are just way too jam-packed to really add this to it. Watchtower, though, I think is a great time to do this. So I wanted to put this into Watchtower, and I want to highlight people who showcase their love for DC by doing fan art. So that's what I wanted to do. So the first thing I want to do here is just show off some fan art that I came across on social media. And the first one here is from @GoodnightDrew over on X. He just did a few quick sketches of Aaron Pierre and Kyle Chandler as the new DCU Lanterns. Again, this is just showing the excitement. There are people out there who are just overly excited about what's coming. And these are great. This is the type of stuff that needs to get shared around and people see, because there's excitement around the DCU. And that is what we need to talk about. That's the type of stuff we need to talk about. So the next thing I want to show is from @Lantern Updates. Fan art by B.M. Warren 67. Again, more Aaron Pierre, more Kyle Chandler art. I think all 3 pieces that I'm showing are Lanterns art, but that's fine. I mean, we'll over the next few weeks, months, years, as we keep doing this, we'll show all sorts of art. But this here, again, great, amazing art. I love the art style they're going for here with Hal Jordan and John Stewart. It looks great. It looks fantastic. I love it. And then this one by Louis Philippe. This was shared by Toru Aldebaran. I'm terrible with names. You guys know this by now, right? This looks like it may have been partially AI, but it doesn't matter because when you're taking the time out to create something, whether it's with the help of AI or not, you're creating something. And my cat is being annoying over there. It's still showcasing your love and excitement for the product, and I love to see it. I love to see it. I hope you all love to see it as well. But let's jump back over here so I can see the comments because honestly, I wish my comment section was working. I don't know what's going on here. It's annoying. It is real annoying. Trayvon Purnell, I find it fascinating that the Snyder Bros would cry about Cavill, but barely say a thing about Ben Affleck. Well, to be fair, I want to say something, Trayvon. They do have a hashtag for release the Batfleck movie or whatever it is. So they do whine and cry and wish for Ben Affleck to come back as well. So that is out there. It is out there. Xander Wild says, if James Gunn is watching this, we have full faith in you. Don't listen to the idiotic naysayers. There you go. Absolutely. Devakin. Again, I'm terrible with names, so I'm sorry if I butchered it. I'm more interested in lanterns than anything else in the DCU. Hey, I know there's a lot of people that are interested in lanterns. I have a friend who's been looking for a lanterns project as far back as 2014, 2013, when Man of Steel came out. Like, he has been wanting a lantern series of some sort way back then. So the fact that it's coming, there are people out there who want it terribly. Hungry Almighty, I know the pic that Gunn showed when he first announced Lanterns was Earth 1, but I hope they just go somewhat of a classic route with the suits. Hey, yeah. Anything's possible when it comes to the suits. I don't think they're going to... I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think they're going to be CGI somewhat, but they're not going to be like the green CGI like they have for the Ryan Reynolds suits. I hope they're more practical, which I think would lean more towards the more classic suit than not. But I think we'll see. I think they're going to put their own little spin on these suits. It's going to be interesting. I really am not sure like what their plan is, because honestly, with them being on Earth, I have a feeling they're going to be in civilian clothes and like earthly clothes more often than not, but we will definitely see them in their suits. I just don't know how they're going to go about it. All right. Let's move on to the first thing I want to talk about before we get into the main topic. And I did put a poll up in the chat. You may have seen it. We got 13 votes. And this is kind of covering what this topic is going to be about, because it's asking, will the general audience have trouble accepting a new actor as Superman? And the reason why I ask this is because there was a post that I came across from a ex-user called Our Movie News. You may have seen this person. And he says, showed this photo to my girlfriend and said, this is our new Superman. And all she did was shrug, and showed this photo of Corn Sweat. And all she did was shrug. Well, that would have been fine. I probably would have just ignored that until I saw this comment. And this comment from our friend Aaron Fisher, my review. He says, the general audience never asked for a reboot with a new Superman. This movie needs to be amazing beyond comprehension or it will fail. The general audience still expects Henry Cavill. It's interesting to see how people react to this, because and still don't understand what is happening. Now, I understand Aaron Fisher. I get he is a passionate Snyder cultist. I get that he wants nothing more but the Snyder cut, or not Snyder cut, the Snyderverse to continue and be completed. I get that. But You have to think logically. You have to think realistically. You have to understand how things work in the real world, regardless of how you look at it. Hindsight is always 2020, and that's something that you as a person have to understand. All right? So we're sitting here in 2024 and we can look back and say, "Well, look at all these mistakes that were made. Look at all this stuff that happened. Everything was done terribly wrong. Snyderverse could have been successful." Yeah, in 2024 we could sit there and easily say that. But when you sit there in 2024 and look back, it's easy to see that. Back then, that wasn't the case. Things are happening at a much faster pace back during that time. And because of that, the studio, and I will admit, made some stupid ass decisions at the time. And those decisions that they made were really, really dumb. And when they made those stupid decisions, they went on and they went and did things like pushed Zack Snyder out and made Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of One Harley Quinn and went and made Wonder Woman 84. They made some really, really stupid decisions. So, because of that, because they made these dumb decisions, because they constantly make and made decisions like that, they got to a point with the DCEU where they had to make a drastic change. Now, unfortunately, Henry Cavill wasn't truly seen within the DCEU since 2017. 2017 was the last time he was seen. Sure, in 2022, he popped up for a short scene in Black Adam. All right. He pops up in Black Adam for a very short scene. Now, in this thread, I go, the general audience asked for it by not going to and supporting the old universe. That's how that works. Marketing then will play a role in creating the expectation for the audience that there is a new Man of Steel. Again, that's how that works. Yes, the film needs to be successful. It will be. But you are acting like this movie and universe was made out of malice or in the midst of a hugely successful franchise. It wasn't. You then are making it seem like the audience at large are a bunch of idiots who can't comprehend an actor change. They can. Again, think about it this way. How many James Bonds have we seen over the last 30, 40 years? How many Batmans have we seen over the last 15, 20 years? How many times was Superman changed, within a 10-year period? I mean, went from Brandon Routh, you had Tom Welling, you had Tyler Hoechlin, you had Henry Cavill. I mean, there's been multiple Supermans within this time frame. You have how many Batmen? I mean, Christian Bale to Ben Affleck to now Robert Pattinson. These people that are constantly on the case, like trying to say that, oh, Batman or Superman's gonna fail, try to make up these ridiculous reasons that truly make no sense. They try to make sense out of them, but they don't make any sense. And of course, somebody jumps in, says, oh, this is going to flop, this is going to happen, all that kind of stuff, and we know that's not the case. We know that it's not going to fail. It's just not going. I mean, it's not going to flop like they're saying at all. It's just not going to. Now, Aaron goes, as far as they know, he is coming back. And now he's talking to another person who responds, talking about Henry Cavill. He's talking that the general audience, as far as he knows, Henry Cavill's coming back. Everyone I have talked to thinks it's stupid to recast him, and they had no idea a new film was coming with a new actor. Not one person has ever said it's a good thing. Not one. Again, that's where marketing comes in. He has this perception that this movie is just going to appear. Like he acts like there's no Superman movie right now, and then on July 11th, oh, there's a Superman movie. I was going to go see it. Like he doesn't realize that there's going to be a marketing push, and they've already started it slightly, like talking about it, hinting at it. There's little bits and pieces here and there, and then there's going to be a marketing push, and all those people that currently right now that he's talking to, everyone that he's talking to who doesn't know that there's a new Superman movie or a recast will know once the marketing push happens. And it just goes on from there. I mean, it just gets out of hand at this point. And I mean, again, we know that the general audience is going to be fine. It's just it's just maddening that people truly sit there and think that there's going to be some kind of um, belief that uh, that there won't be this understanding that there's a new Superman. Like that's just madness to me. Like there's just uh, there had to be a change. There just had to be. I'd like Cavill. I wanted to see Cavill continue, but it makes sense that they had to make the change. Cavill was the Superman of a failed universe, and Superman is a big part of DC. So to restart a DC universe, you need to make sure you don't have the face of a failed universe part of that universe. You understand? I think that makes sense. I think it makes sense. I do think it makes sense. But let's see what I can do here. I don't know why this chat isn't working. It's really making me mad. That's for sure. Let's see what you guys are saying because I'm sure I missed a whole bunch. Anyways, the total votes right now out of 21 votes, the poll is 81% of you say no, the general audience will not have trouble. And believe it or not, there are 19% of you that think the audience will have trouble. I'm curious what 19% of you are saying that in those 21 votes. And there are 39, no, there's 20 people watching right now. How many people? 27 people watching right now. So out of the 27 people, how many people are there actually hate watching this right now? Are you there, Aaron? Aaron Fisher, you here watching? Is that one of those votes you? One of those votes you? I'm curious. I'm just curious. Anyways, let's take a look at these comments here. Let's see. I wish I could pull up these comments, guys. I'm sorry. I wish I could figure this out. Let's see. Xander Wow goes, "Oh my God, Aaron Fisher at it again." Hugo Millie, what's up? Hey Slav, what's your opinion on British actress Jodie Comer as Jenny Sparks? I didn't know that was a thing. Is that a thing? Like, should I look that up? I mean, is that? I didn't know. I don't see that as a thing. Like, I didn't know. I don't see that. Is that just a fan cast? I don't know. I mean, if it's a fan cast, I don't see why not. I like Jodie Comer. She was great in Fall Guy. I don't see why not. I mean, I think she's probably a little bigger than a role like that. I don't think that's that unless they make that role huge, but I don't think it's that big of a role. So we could see. Hope for Life says Aaron is reminding me of Lex Luthor. Weird. He is. He's like the Lex Luthor of DC fandom. Otito says, I respect your opinion on being a Snyder fan, but considering what I've seen of the Rebel Moon movies, we dodged a bullet before his vision could flat out destroy DC. Yes, very much so. And Xander Wild says, A.A. Ron Fisher is like James Gunn's Riddler. Hungry Almighty, my girlfriend is as super casual as you can get. She asked me if Henry is still playing Supes. I told her no because Henry doesn't fit the vision Gunn has and David does. And although she was disappointed, she's willing to give David a chance. And again, that's all you can ask for. Anybody should just give it a chance. Again, you said a really good point here, Hungry Almighty, is it's the creator's vision. What was the Snyder cult's biggest push? What was one of their biggest hashtags? Or I don't even know if it was a hashtag, but it was one of the things that they pushed was artistic integrity. So when you hire a new artist to create their vision, you're not going to hamper their vision by saying, well, we want this guy. You're not going to sit there and say, no, you can't do what you want to do. No, you can't do that. How dare you? That makes no sense. It makes zero sense is what it makes. James Gunn has all the right in the world to recast and do what he needs to do to create the vision that he wants to make in his universe. Henry Cavill had his time under Zack Snyder and Jeff Johns and John Berg at Warner Brothers and Walter Hamada. He and Walter Hamada, his team, they couldn't come up with a deal for him to be in more movies. That is on Henry Cavill and Walter Hamada. Like, people don't understand that. People like Aaron, as you said, they don't understand that. They don't realize that Henry Cavill is as much at fault as Warner Brothers is for not being in more movies because he was unwilling to create or make another deal with Warner Brothers at the time. And that just, but that happens. That happens. I'm not sitting here saying that in a malicious way. It just happens. That's how business works. He just didn't agree with the deals that they were giving him, so he walked away. That's how it works. Xander Wild says David Cornswet doesn't look like a knockoff Henry Cavill. He looks more like Christopher Reeve and Tom Welling combined. Yeah, I can see that. Hope for Life Superman has always played an unknown actor, has always been played by an unknown actor. Cavill was not even known till he became Superman. Basically, yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. He was in The Tudors before that, and I don't even think I remember him in anything else before that, so you're not wrong. Heck, even Brandon Routh. I didn't know Brandon Routh before Superman Returns. So, Trayvon Purnell, people had no problem moving on from Brandon Routh to Henry. Wow, that's weird. Yeah, exactly. Devakin, I just hope that DC fandom will be united together again. Right now, it's very split into different groups. Very much so. Oh, man, what happened? Everything just... See, this is why I need to... Darn comments. Restream really screwed me today. David, we said that one already. Xander Wild says, what does Aaron Fisher talk to about his little ridiculous rants? His sleep paralysis demons? Hope for Life. Real DC fans will therefore Superman while the Buzzkillers stay home. Xander Wild, real DC fans want Superman, not depressed Kryptonian man. Otito says, I really hope these Snyder cultists are not a lot of people, because that might strike a blow to the box office for Superman. They're not. The Snyder cultists, believe it or not, are a minority. They are. They sit there. They're a loud minority for sure. I mean, that's the thing. They're a loud minority. And the problem with that is because they're loud, it distracts everything else. And I've met people on social media at conventions that I go to who regurgitate what the Snyder cult says, who aren't Snyder cult fans, but they regurgitate what they say. And they sit there and say, well, the DC fandom or the DC universe is blah or this or that. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Why do you think that? And they'll say XYZ. And I'm like, oh, so you must be a Snyder fan. They're like, not really. I never really liked the Snyderverse, or I never liked Snyder movies. And I'm like, well, why do you think this? And they'll say, well, this is what I'm hearing. And it's like, wow, like you couldn't be more wrong, or you couldn't be further from the truth. That's what happens. And because of that, you realize, okay, the Snyder cult, while they're small, they're loud. And that's why I kind of done this for a couple years. I've gone against the Snyder cult. When I walked away from the Snyderverse fandom, I did so because I wanted to go at them in a way to stop that. I wanted to point out their misinformation, their false claims, and their toxicity, to stop that. Because I went to a convention. I live right outside the Pittsburgh area. I went to a convention a couple years ago, and I heard a couple people talking about it like that. And I was like, this is madness. Like the fact that there's people that don't even like the Snyderverse, but they're talking so poorly about DC and everything like that was just, it drove me insane. It just drove me insane. So, I mean, it was stuff like that I was hearing, and that's all it is. That's really all it is. All right. Lawrence Fury is here. What's going on? Where did all these Cavill fans come from? I swear no one likes Superman after Batman v Superman. Well, I mean, Cavill fans have been around. The thing with Cavill is people always liked him as Superman. They just didn't like the stories he was in. Even Cavill wasn't a big fan of the stories he was in. He wanted, and I've posted articles, I've written things, And I've made videos about it, how he wanted a more hopeful Superman. He wanted to play a more hopeful Superman, and he was looking forward to that. And I mean, that's just the fact of how things went. And Xander Wow goes, Aaron, are you in the chat? Hello. Lawrence Fury, the younger generation doesn't seem to like Superman after Batman v Superman. Basically. Oh, boy. Let's see. What do we got here? Xander Wild, Snyderverse fans are like cocky, popular, preppy kids from high school who end up being nothing in the future. Davikin, I'm intrigued about the DCU stuff. We're getting Cersei, Lex, and Lanterns, which is pretty cool. Lawrence Fury, I walked away from being a Snyderverse fan because I was done living in the past. Lawrence Fury, honor the past, signify the future. The Watcher says, where were the Cavill fans when Black Adam released? Just saying. Very true. That was another thing that Aaron said in one of those posts. I don't know where it was in the replies, but he said people saw Black Adam and saw the post-credit scene, so people were expecting Cavill to be Superman. Nobody saw Black Adam. It failed. It flopped. It made like no money, so nobody went and saw it. So what people were expecting? Come on, man. Come on. It's ridiculous. Anyways, all right. Let's move on to the next thing that I want to talk about. Or the next thing that we are going to talk about, which, again, this is for all of us to discuss, which is... So I talked about this. I brought this up on Monday's show, this little snippet here. So James Gunn was asked, hi, James, what will be the next DCU project after Supergirl and Lanterns? And James Gunn says, it could be one of three things. We'll see which goes first. So what could be the next thing? So start throwing it in the comments, guys. I want to hear what you think is going to be the next thing, because it could be one of many. Because don't forget, we got Booster Gold, we got the Blue Beetle animated show, we got Teen Titans, we got Batman, Brave and the Bold, we got Paradise Lost, Swamp Thing, although Swamp Thing may be pushed back a little more because James Mangold recently said that his Star Wars movie may start shooting in 2025, which I don't know about that. I'm not really sure about that, really at all. And so let me know what you guys are thinking. I want to see what you guys are saying here for sure. So what are you guys saying? Let's see. Hugo Millie says Booster Gold. Now, Booster Gold could be an interesting one. I think Booster Gold could be a fun one. That is definitely up James Gunn's alley, for sure. Booster Gold is absolutely up his alley, because he's the type of person that loves to do things like, the comedy and the goofiness and stuff like that. But is that really what they want to go for? I mean, let's take a look at what they got. They got Superman right now. Superman right now is pretty what do you call it? I won't say completely serious, but it's more, on the serious side of things. There's going to be some comedic elements, but I mean, it's more serious. Then you got Peacemaker. That's his more comedic take. You got Creature Commandos, obviously the more comedic take. Supergirl's going to be more like Superman. And then you got Lanterns, more serious take. So you got two serious, maybe three serious, one really serious, probably with Lanterns, more grounded serious, two comedic. So which way is he going to go there? Because you think he's going to want to mix it up. He's not going to want to always do serious. He's not always going to do comedy. How do you think he's going to want to do it? So do you think he's going to want the next thing be like a Booster Gold, or do you think he's going to want to do something more like a Brave and the Bold with Batman? What do you think? Wow, whole bunch of people here. Davikin says, I'm just surprised Gunn isn't doing an Ambush Bug or Plastic Man project. Ambush Bug. How about Condiment King? Everybody loves to go to that one. I'm surprised you didn't say that one. Unserious User 99. My guess is the Authority or Teen Titans. See, I don't think it's going to be Authority right away. The reason why I say that is because I think that one, I really believe James Gunn is going to be directing that one. I think that James Gunn wants to direct Authority. I think he's going to direct Superman, Authority, and then Justice League. I think those are going to be the three films he directs, and I think you're going to see about 4 years, 3 to 4 years between them. So like releasing. So 2025 would be Superman. So then the next one after, so the next one would probably come out in 2028. I would say 2028. So he probably wouldn't go into production with that until 2027, late 2026, maybe, if he directs The Authority. That's my guess. That's just my thought process in the whole thing. Just because I don't think he's going to be wanting to just jump direct. I just don't think he's going to want to do that because he's got a lot on his plate. I could be wrong though. I could be wrong, but Teen Titans is a good option. They really want to get into this Batman universe. They really want to dive into that. I know David Zaslav is pushing James Gunn to get into this Batman universe. And I think that's going to be a big push. I think because they can't necessarily do a Batman movie right now. Any way into that Batman universe, any way to get into Gotham centric or, Robins and Batgirls and stuff like that. And Teen Titans is an entry point into that. And I think that they can do that. I think Teen Titans is a good choice for that, for sure. Let's see. Where are we at? This thing just keeps jumping around. Man. I'm seeing a whole bunch of Brave and the Bold from Muffin Healer. Muffin Healer. That's a funny name. Like the name Muffin Healer. Hungry Almighty says Brave and the Bold. I really can't see what else. Xander Wild says Brave and the Bold. Trayvon Purnell says Brave and the Bold. Lawrence Fury says, I want to say Teen Titans. Now, Teen Titans makes the most sense. And the reason why I'm going to say Teen Titans makes a lot of sense is because we know Anna Nagra, no, I can't say the name, Nagraria, whatever, the lady who wrote Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, is already writing Teen Titans. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other writers writing projects right now because all that information isn't given out. So it's very possible that there's other projects that are being written. Andre Oliveira, probably The Authority. Good possibility. Again, like I said, I think James Gunn is going to direct that. Now, the only thing that with The Authority that makes me think that it could be is because Production Weekly had that in there. Now, I know James Gunn was like, Production Weekly is wrong a lot of the times. But I think people misunderstand or misunderstood or don't really understand what Production Weekly is about. Production Weekly is actually supposed to be not necessarily what is in production or what is going into production right now. It gives you like, here's a movie that is getting a production crew. This is a movie that has a production crew. All right. And that gives you an idea, not us, not the audience, but agents and other producers in Hollywood, a way to contact the studio and other agents and other producers and people that are connected to that project to say, hey, I want to be involved, or hey, I have actors, or hey, or is there casting calls, or hey, that kind of stuff. That is what that magazine does. That's what that is for. So when they put The Authority in there, it could have just been like, hey, Authority is a thing. We're working on it. It may be 2 years down the line. It may be 6 months down the line, but it could have been put in there because they're looking for a writer, or it could have been put in there because they're looking for a cinematographer. It could have been in there because they're looking for a director. We don't know exactly. So that's kind of what that is for. James Gunn, people ask them, and James Gunn, I'm shocked answered it the way he did because he should know what that is for. And some people just take it as Production Weekly means, oh, it's going into production in like 2 days. And that's not really what it's for. Hungry Almighty says, by the time Supergirl and Lantern's finished, the Batman Part 2 will also probably finish. So that's why I say Brave and the Bold is easily next. Makes sense, Hungry. I get that. But I think this next project isn't going to start production until like major production. I don't think it's going to start until late 2025. And hold on one sec here. I'm just looking at something real quick. Yeah. So Batman, they're saying is going to start shooting next year. And that means if Batman Part 2 starts shooting next year, but Supergirl and Lantern starts in January, if Batman starts shooting late next year, that's kind of what it's looking like, then it could be Batman. It could be. I think they're going to wait till after Superman. I, I I hate to say this, but I think they're waiting to see how Superman does to greenlight the next project. I think they're doing that. I hate that they're doing that, but I think they're doing that. Only because I think they don't want to get too far ahead. If that makes sense. I get why they would do that. I get it, but I think they don't want to get too far ahead. That's not to say that they're not going to have multiple projects lined up. I think, like James Gunn here says, it could be one of three things. We'll see which goes first, because they could have 4, 5, 6 things at that point in time lined up. So Superman does well, boom, here's the next thing. People love Peacemaker, boom, here's the next TV show. People love Lanterns, boom, here's the next thing. People love Supergirl, boom, here's the next thing. But I don't think they want to get too far ahead, simply because if things don't work out, and while I am excited about the DCU and I believe it's going to work out, you have to understand the hesitancy of Warner Brothers and DC Studios after the last, 10, 11 years. You have to understand their hesitancy a little bit. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they will push production sooner than that. Maybe it will go into production. Say Supergirl starts in January. Say production ends. What do we say? Probably March, April, May. We'll say probably May. It'll end around there. 4 to 6 months, roughly, somewhere around there, probably. So maybe it ends around there, and that puts it right around June, July is whenever the next project might go. So that's right around Superman, and maybe that's when they push this next project into production. Maybe they're just waiting to see how Superman tracks before they push it into production. Who knows? I mean, I just think that Brave and the Bold is, I would say, maybe if James Gunn has 3 projects lined up, I would say Brave and the Bold is not on that list for a couple reasons. I don't think he has a script for it yet. I also don't think that Muschietti is ready yet, because you got him finishing up Welcome to Derry, and there's still thoughts and rumors that Muschietti may not even be on this. There's rumors that are saying that they may want to move Muschietti off the project, which means they don't have a writer, they don't have a director for it. That's why. So again, I'm all for Brave and look. I'm a huge Batman fan. I want to see a new Batman movie. I want to see a Batman in the DCU. There's just reasons why I don't think it's Batman Brave and the Bold. Oh, so, all right. Where are we at here? Johnny Dome. This channel mainly does Star Trek, but what are you guys talking about? Whoa. Tito stopped in. Let's see, or not Tito. I said Tito. Tio. Hungry Almighty, there is no Trinity in Marvel, bro. What are you guys talking about? What did I miss? Man, see, I just start talking to the camera and I miss chats. What did I miss? Tia says, Batman should be last, bro. He's given us the Trinity too fast. Give us something new, bro. No different from Snyder so far. The first 2 movies are Superman and Supergirl. What? What? All right, man. All right. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining, Tia. Thank you for joining. Dovakin says, if you want the movie that'll bring the bigger profit, then you greenlight Batman Brave and the Bold. You're right. But remember, James Gunn is very much about not just greenlighting a film without the right script and not speeding through anything. He doesn't want to just speed through and get things put out just to get things put out. On top of that, you have this issue with Matt Reeves' Batman. 2026 is Matt Reeves' Batman. That's when that's scheduled to come out. Now, if they push that and delay it to 2027, absolutely get Brave and the Bold filmed in 2025 and out in 2026. Find a way to make sure you get that script written, started now, get it filmed in 2025, get it put out. But Matt Reeves' Batman's coming out in 2026. And because of that, Brave and the Bold probably won't come out till 2025 or 2025, 2027 at the earliest. And I just don't see that. I mean, I guess it looks like they're going to shoot. It looks like they're shooting for like maybe 2 movies a year eventually. I think that's what they're going to go for. I think right now they're going for 1 movie a year with like 2 shows maybe a year. It's kind of what it's looking like. Like 2025 is a little weird because you're going to have Superman, you're going to have kind of Creature Commandos, but not really. But you're going to have Superman and you have Peacemaker and Lanterns maybe? Is Lanterns going to come out in 2025 or is that 2026? So then you're going to have Lanterns probably 2026 alongside Supergirl. So you're going to have 1 TV show, 1 movie, 1 TV show, 1 movie. So is that what they're doing? Because I think it also depends on how they're releasing things. 1 movie, 1 show all year. I don't know if that's going to work. I think they need to do 2 movies and 2 shows at minimum. I don't know. It's really interesting. Really interesting to see how this goes. See, what screws everything up is Reeves' Batman. I mean, that really does screw everything up. Really does. Muffin Healer says maybe Watcher. The Watcher says Zach should have done Man of Steel. You guys are talking about Zach. Let's see. Hungry Almighty. No, Tio, you guys are talking. What about Hope for Life says, what about dynamic duo film? I feel like that would be the next thing because possibly cheaper to make with the puppets and animation. I think we're more talking about the films because again, the question was Supergirl and Lanterns. That's so I think they were talking more about the films aspect. Well, Lanterns isn't a film; that's a show. So I don't know. I don't know. Again, the dynamic duos, is that a film? That is a film. That's animated. There's still no confirmation that's DCU. I like to believe it's DCU, but there's still no confirmation it is. So I don't know. I mean, I believe it's DCU. It makes sense that it's DCU, but I don't know. I hate to think that's the next project he's talking about because they already announced it. They just don't have a release date, but they announced it. So I have to believe that's not one of the projects he's talking about. Dovikin says, it'll make sense with the Authority to come out before Justice League movie because those heroes in the Authority are more darker and violent compared to the Justice League. Absolutely. I also have a feeling that, I hope I'm wrong, but I have this weird feeling that they may do a Justice League versus Authority type of film at some point, whether it's the first Justice League movie or if it's like down the line. I don't know. I just have a weird feeling they're going to do something like that at some point. I hope not, but I just have a feeling they may do something like that. Hugo Millie says Authority would be great for characters like Superman and such, and what not to do when forming a superhero team, and what not to do when forming a superhero team. Yeah, it makes sense. I get what you're saying there. What do we got? Nothing else here. It says Dovikin says DC Studios is trying to search for a director who will finish Lanterns by July 2025. The show's release window is 2026. That's crazy. They're going for that's a 7-month shoot period for Lanterns. That's wild. That's a long time for shooting that show. I don't know. That's a lot, Dovikin. Because they confirmed they're starting in January. I can see this show going like shooting for 5-6 months, like till June, maybe. But to shoot until July, that's 7 months is a long time. I mean, unless it's going to be like 20 episodes, but I don't see that happening. I really don't think that's going to happen. Watcher says, I don't think Reeves' Batman messes anything up because Gunn has said it's Elseworlds. Elseworlds films were released alongside DCU canon films. So if the Batman 2 and Batman Brave and the Bold release same time, then it does. Uh, Watcher, for you, me, and probably everybody in this chat, makes complete sense. We all understand Reeves' Batman is over here, DCU Batman over here. Makes sense. But you are essentially at that point in time pitting yourself against yourself, because let's just say you put Batman Brave and the Bold out in say May. We'll say May. And then in November you put the Batman 2 out. I mean, you're pitting yourself against yourself that year. 2 Batman movies, one does well, one doesn't. Is it because there were 2 that came out? Is it that people don't want to see the other one? People want to see that one and not that one. And then there's all these questions, and it doesn't look well. It doesn't look good. So then ideally, if you can convince Reeves to say Batman 2 is done, you finish it, it's over. Like, that's ideally what I think they should do. They finish the story with Batman 2 and it's a conclusion and people are good and the viewers watch and like, okay, that was fun. Reeves had fun with that universe. It's done. Oh, we got a new Batman. Let's go. And then there's no like, hey, we want Battins and that kind of thing. Ideally, that's what you want. Is it going to happen like that? I don't know. But at least separating them by about a year, more than 6 months is ideal. A year is probably best. Only because I think there's just going to be that's just too much Batman and a little confusion. I'm not saying the audience is not going to understand, but when you have 2 Batmans in separate universes releasing back to back like that, I don't think it's good for the DCU brand specifically. It just doesn't, it's not good overall, especially when you're still new and trying to establish the brand. Wow, you guys are talking amongst yourselves. I like that. Like I said in the beginning of the show, I like when you guys talk amongst yourselves, but it makes it hard for me to follow along. And especially with my chat thing broken on Restream, I am having trouble here. So I'm sorry about this. Johnny Dome says, might be Elseworld. Did you see Beast Boy got an animated show? I did see that. But isn't it only being released over in the UK or something like that? Like, it's only being released over in the UK. I think it's coming to America later, but it's only in the UK right now, which is really weird, honestly. But thank you, Johnny Dome, for letting us know. Hope for Life, Hans. Hugo Millie, I hope they canonize Peacemaker being sent to the Mortal Kombat universe before the DCU one. Muffin Healer, do you prefer StreamYards? I preferred StreamYards. I did until they raised the price, like they doubled the price. And first off, I probably wouldn't have minded them doubling the price had they let me know. Had I gotten an email and they said something like, hey, the price is going to be changing. Here you go. And this is what you get for it. But they never sent me an email. And not only that, but I was having some trouble with StreamYard because I used to use StreamYard and I was having some trouble with it. So I actually reached out to StreamYard because I was having some trouble and they wouldn't get back to me, And then I was like, you know what? I'm probably gonna just try something else because I'm having some trouble. So I went to look at my billing to like pause the billing or to shut it off because I was having trouble. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go find something else. And only when I did that did I see that the price went up. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I looked and I then noticed I got charged for the higher price ones. And I was like, what is going on? So I went back through my emails and looked, and I never got, an email from StreamYard saying anything that the price was going up. I didn't even see like any announcements. I went like on Google searching, like, was there any announcements that prices were going to, I saw nothing. And then I reached out to StreamYard again, like, yo, what's going on? Like, what's with the price hike? Like, was this a mistake? Like, what's going on? They never responded to me, never emailed me. I reached out to them on social media, never said anything. So look, if they're not even going to treat their customers, which I've been a customer of theirs for like 4 years, I was like, you know what? Forget it. I'm out. And I just dropped them. So yeah, I preferred StreamYard, but with customer service like that, I'm not dealing with it. What is Xander Wild Slav? What do you think about David Howard Thornton as Gunn's DCU Joker? David Howard Thornton. Let me see who that is because I'm not even sure that is David Howard Thornton. The Terrifier guy. That's a Terrifier guy. Ah, yeah, I knew that. I knew who he is. Yeah, I heard that he wanted to do it. I actually heard that story that he wanted to do it. Sure. I mean, why not? I mean, I'm all for anybody who is passionate about wanting to play a role to get a chance to do it. I mean, let's see if he can do it. If they want to do it, let's let him have an audition and let's see if it works. Hunter Iggy says, Slav Freeze Talk, what is up? What's up? What's up, Hunter? Hope for Life, what do you think about Swamp Thing film? I doubt that it's anytime soon, but just curious. Yeah, Hope for Life. I said that a little bit ago that James Mangold recently stated that his Dawn of the Jedi film looks like it's going to be filming in 2025. If that's the case, I mean, you figure that's going to be about a year to 2 years of his life. I mean, honestly, a Star Wars film isn't short amount of time. You figure that's going to take all of 2025 right there for him. So you figure 2025 is out for Swamp Thing. The soonest Swamp Thing is going to get into production would be 2026, mid 2026 probably at the very earliest in that at that point. But even then, I think that's unlikely. So we'll see. But yeah, I don't think that's anytime soon at all. Johnny Dome asks, would you like an Animal Man and Vixen team up project? Well, you're starting to go a little obscure here, which I'm all for the obscure DC characters. And I'm not going to say Vixen is obscure. Maybe I misspoke there because Vixen isn't obscure. People know who Vixen is, and Vixen is a beloved character. I will say non-mainstream. That's probably a better way of saying that because she's not obscure, and Animal Man isn't really obscure either. But non-mainstream, and when you start talking about these non-mainstream characters, James Gunn, that's right up James Gunn's alley. When I think somebody brought up Julie Sparks earlier, when you start talking about these characters, that's up James Gunn's alley. And these are the types of characters that we could see in some capacity, especially when you talk about the DCU being filled with metahumans, filled with heroes and villains already. These are the types of characters we could see in some capacity. Now, will we see a project that is specifically Vixen or specifically Animal Man or specifically Sparks or something like that? Maybe. I wouldn't put it past him. I think it really depends on how much the DCU takes off. If people buy in, if people see Superman and they love it, if people see Supergirl and they love it, and Lanterns, they love it, Peacemaker is a big hit like season 1, if things just take off like they should and that we believe and know it's going to, well, then yeah, projects like that could pop up down the line. Absolutely. I mean, take a look Take a look at what's going on with things like in Marvel. And it's not a great example, but there's an Agatha Harkness show in Marvel. Now, granted, the show is horrendous, but there's an Agatha Harkness show. Just think about that. Think in 2009 when you're all sitting there. If any of you are old enough to have been sitting in the theater watching Iron Man and thinking, "Whoa, that was amazing." Man, I hope they make an Agatha Harkness movie. Like, who would have ever sat there and said, "Man, I hope they make an Agatha project or show or movie"? Like, nobody would have ever thought that in 2009 or 2000, whenever Iron Man came out. Like, nobody would have ever thought that. Even in 2012 when they saw Avengers, nobody would have ever sat there and said, "Man, I hope they make an Agatha series." Hell, in 2019 when they saw Endgame, that was never on anybody's mind. So like that's how you have to look at it. Is it really depends on how big this universe can get to see these lesser known and less used and non-mainstream characters possibly being in the DCU. Now, again, like I said, when you talk about James Gunn, he loves using these kind of characters. So I think it's more likely we see them earlier on than we would and we did with characters in the MCU, but that's just how James Gunn is. So, yeah, I think it's possible. I think it's possible. I went on a very long rant there, but I think it's possible for sure. The Watcher says, Slaz, free. None of these obscure characters will be obscure once James Gunn gets the DCU in full swing. Exactly. Exactly. Again, sorry if I miss some of your comments. The comment function on Restream is not working for me today, so I'm doing the best I can. I apologize. I do apologize. Now, I'm going to keep getting to the comments here, but I do want to throw out a reminder to anybody. I know I bring this up a lot. If you are a member, thank you. I do have a few members I do want to shout out real quick. The members, just a guy on YouTube, Goober316 and Lawrence Fury. Thank you all very much for being members. We are doing a special member-only live stream this Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about anything pop culture related. And what's going to be cool is we're not going to just sit here where I'm talking to the chat. No, I'm going to throw out a link. You guys are going to jump in and talk. You can put video up, or you don't need to put up a video, but you can just sit there and we can talk and BS while we just talk about pop culture, anything pop culture. You can bring up whatever topics you want to bring up. I'll come with some topics and we're just going to talk 9 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to become a member, if you're not a member, it's just $2.99 a month to support my channel. You get exclusive videos. I posted a video about Blade the other day. I'll be doing that, like where I'm just driving home from work. If a story pops up, I'll post a video about it. And then it's just my quick thoughts on news, things that break. And I'm just going to post a video while I'm driving home, that kind of thing. And then I'll do a member-only live stream once a month. So if you want to support the channel, I'd be forever grateful. $2.99 a month. But yeah, that's where we're at. All right. So getting back into the comments here while you guys were filling it up, hopefully. Tio goes, Agatha is caca, bro, and almost as cheesy and lame as Gunn's projects. Dude, I mean, yes, Agatha is bad, but it's nowhere near as bad. Like, it's nowhere like Gunn's project is like nothing like Agatha. Nothing like it at all. What is going on? There we go. Man, what are you doing, cat? Get out of here. Nadovikin says, I don't know what the hell happened to the MCU after Endgame. They canceled the Blade movie. Yeah, they did cancel the Blade movie. Well, they delayed the Blade movie again. Well, delayed. Whatever. Muffin Healer, I'm skipping Agatha and watching Daredevil Born Again. Makes sense. Truthfully, no one ever sat in 2007 and said, oh, give me an Iron Man film. DCU started out this way too. The Watcher, everything and anything is possible for DC under Gunn because Gunn knows these characters and Any obscure character you may personally like is very likely to get a project eventually. That's part one from The Watcher. Part two, because we're talking about Snyder, we're not talking about Snyder, we're talking about Gunn here. Yeah, that is I do want to point that out, that you're very accurate with that. And Snyder knew the big names in comics. He didn't know the obscure things in comics. And that's the facts. That's true. Like, oh, he put Troy or Ryan Choi in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Okay, yeah. A Blue Beetle. Wow. Okay. But like that's a known character. Like he's a big part of that story. Who else did he put in? Like he never put obscure characters in there. He never cared about that. He always was like, you got Bruce Wayne, you got Diana Prince, you got Arthur Curry. Like it was just the big characters. Because that's all he really knew or cared about. Like he didn't care about all these obscure characters. And even if you look at the DCU as a whole from the beginning, there were never really obscure characters within the franchise. Hell, look at Man of Steel. Like there was no like even obscure Smallville characters in that film. Not even obscure, but lesser known characters, or even like characters connected to the past of. I think the only one was Peter. What Peter? What's his last name? Crap. Help me here, Chad. I can't remember Pete's last name. His best friend in high school. But he was in it. Like that was it. Like that was the only character that was really part of Clark's history in Man of Steel. But again, like you take a look and he stuck to the basics. Like this is the basics. And it's not a bad thing. Like you're just trying to get to the point of a story and just want to do the story. That's fine. James Gunn wants to expand the universe and get really big and really get it out there. And that's what's exciting about the DCU. Again, I always bring it back to there's a reason to be excited about the DCU because of how grand and big this is going to be. It has a brighter future than it had before. Yes, the DCEU had a plan of sorts, but not like this. And yes, I get it. This plan has weird titles like The Authority and Booster Gold and Swamp Thing, and that's kind of weird. These are obscure and lesser known characters and weird things. And that's okay. But the difference between what we know about James Gunn and this plan that we've seen so far is that this is put into a world that is already huge, largely established, and they're really going at it like that. Whereas the DCEU, they were making it up as they went along. And that's the difference. And that is why the DCEU is so exciting. That's why it's so exciting. I'm not saying one way or the other was the right or wrong way to do it. But if you sit back and you take a look at, the issues that were going on from 2014 to 2017, there were issues going on there. Yes, it was because of the studio, but there were issues there. I'm just saying. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. There's reasons to be excited. There are reasons to be excited. The Watcher. Exactly. Warner Brothers has been using same old characters for many years, so people think that's all there is to DC when it isn't. That's why I'm excited for DCU. Heck yeah. Tio says, I'm glad Gunn is risking it, but Creature Commandos just looks like an edgy, goofy-ass show created to catered to edgelords. Yeah, well. Tio said, no. Johnny Dome. I bet Nick Cage would have been a better DCCO than Zack Snyder. He knows comics. Would he have been a better Superman than Henry Cavill? No, I'm just kidding. I liked Henry Cavill's Superman. Watcher continues, because Gunn will prove people wrong by showing the vastness of the world, which is huge, literally. Cal Constantine says, I'm absolutely saying there's a right and wrong way to do it. All right, well, good. Hungry Almighty says, correct me if I'm wrong, but Gunn already finished the outline of the entire chapter 1 and 2 of his plan. If so, this is what I love to see. They like they say in WWE, long-term booking. Heck yeah, I like the WWE reference. Yeah, I mean, you gotta book long term, and hey, things may change. Things may have to get adjusted down the line, and that's okay because some things may work, some things may not work, and some things you might realize, oh, okay, this might work better this way, or might look better this way, or might uh, fit better over here. So things may need to get adjusted. I don't know if he's outlined all of chapter 1 and 2. I don't remember hearing that. I know that he's outlined chapter 1, but I don't know if he outlined chapter 2. I've not heard that. Otito, my only worry is that the director for each project should at least be interested in superheroes or comic books because a director without passion for source material, cough, Todd, doesn't end well. Yeah, Todd Phillips, what the hell? Johnny Dome says Nick Cage, his last name is from Luke Cage, and his son is Cal El. Proof he loves comics. I mean, yes, absolutely proof that he loves comics. But yeah, thank you, Johnny Dome. Andre Oliveira. Since we have some of Batman's villains and Cersei and Commandos, we'll get a reference to Batman and Wonder Woman. I'm hoping we see Wonder Woman sooner than later. I'm kind of hoping we see Wonder Woman pop up in like Creature Commandos or something like that. That'd be kind of neat. I just like that's another thing. Like I would love to see Batman pop up at just some random time. I said this in a post. Was it last? No, it was last Monday. I said it. Like I just think that Batman's gonna just pop up, and we're just gonna be like, "Holy crap, Batman just popped up!" My cat is freaking out right now. But I think Batman's just gonna pop up at some point in time. Like it's just gonna be like, boom, here's Batman or here's Bruce Wayne. And I think the same thing may happen with Wonder Woman too. It's gonna be like, here's Diana Prince. Like, what? Where'd this come from? It just kind of comes out of nowhere. And I'm all for it. But I know people are like, well, that's cameo porn. And James Gunn said there's no cameo porn. No, cameo porn is when there's just a cameo with no point for it at all. That's what he was talking about. If it has point to story or point for a future in the story, it's not cameo porn. That's the difference. And that's what James Gunn was talking about. So if it has a reason for it to be there, then it's not cameo porn. But anyways, I digress. Moving on. Cal Constantine says, I'm planning to become a writer and make a Red Hood and the Outlaws show. Well, that's cool. That's cool. That's a great idea. Hope for Life. Slav, the nice part is that you do not have to watch everything to understand what is going on like you do with the MCU. Yeah, I mean, that's what they're saying. And while I commend James Gunn for saying that, right now he says that. Right now. Because even with the first phase in the MCU, you could say that. Like honestly, you could go watch the Avengers and never have watched the first 4 films and be perfectly fine. You could even go watch, Captain America Civil War and not watch the movies before it and be perfectly fine and probably get through it easily. Maybe watch, a few films here and there, maybe the first Iron Man, the first Captain America, and maybe even the first and second Avengers. You could probably watch 4 films up to Civil War and be fine. Like there are bits and pieces in the Marvel up until recently that you could have watched. But, once you get to like Endgame and Infinity War, it's kind of like, okay, you need to watch at least half of the MCU to understand the impact of Infinity War and Endgame. And that's eventually going to happen in the DCU. I mean, it just is. Because there's going to come a time when it's going to be like, okay, you have all these characters, and to understand this one story and why this means something to that character, you need to know his story. And to understand this character and why his death means something, you need to read or have seen this whole story. And to understand why all these characters coming together and fighting this villain is so important, you have to see all these character stories. So eventually it's going to come like that. It just is. I mean, it's unfortunate. And again, I commend James Gunn for saying like, hey, you're not going to have to, but you're going to have to at some point. You're just going to have to. It's the nature of the beast, unfortunately. What I don't want to see happen is making your audience have to watch 4 hours of television to then watch a movie. That's what you don't want to do. Because if you have to watch a couple movies to see another movie, okay. But like, for instance, to have to watch WandaVision before seeing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, that's not cool. Now you have to watch Multiverse of Mad, or you have to watch WandaVision Multiverse of Madness to then watch Agatha. And then you're going to have to watch WandaVision Multiverse of Madness, Agatha before you watch what's the next one going to be? The Vision Quest. Like there's all these pieces that you have to see just to see that. And that's, what is that? 6 hours, 4 hours, 2 hours, and another 6 hours. That's just absurd. That's absurd. That's the problem. When you start adding in these television shows and all these hours. So if they can find a way to not make these television shows, but again, like the way they want to intertwine the shows, even with lanterns, it's going to be a problem. It really is. Xander Wild says, I'm writing my own version of the Joker's story. Any tips? Be vague. Be vague. That's the beauty of the Joker, is we don't know where he comes from. So be vague about the Joker. Or the Jokers. You're saying the Jokers. So you're talking about the Jokers. Are you talking about the 3 Jokers? Or are you talking about the gang, the Jokers? Yeah. If you're talking about the 3 Jokers, like where they revealed to Batman that there's 3 Jokers, be vague on who they and what they are and why they are. As the Joker's gang, like you're talking about a gang that call themselves the Jokers. Go buck wild with them. Have fun with that. Oh man. Kyle Constantine's Dr. Phosphorus is a Batman villain. Cersei's a Wonder Woman villain. Weasel is Firestorm villain. Weasel in the trailer is surrounded by fire. Of course, Wonder Woman and Bats will at least be mentioned. Absolutely. John McHugh, do you think Zach would have named Bruce and Lois's baby Martha? I thought he was supposed to be a boy. Well, the baby was supposed to be a boy, wasn't it? Because he was supposed to become the next Batman, but with Superman powers or something, or Superman. I don't remember what it was. What was it supposed to be? I don't even remember. That's so dumb. So dumb. Oh man. Ray J365. The writers of Multiverse of Madness didn't even watch WandaVision. Ain't that right? Oh man. Cal Constant, I quit the MCU after Phase Bore. Comics only for me. Xander Watt, I'm talking about one Joker, which is my own Joker. Yeah. If you're talking about one Joker, just be vague. Again, like I said, the beauty of Joker is not knowing where he comes from. And then you have the option of what drives him. Like you have the Heath Ledger Joker, which is the anarchy. You have the Jared Leto Joker, which was he was a gangster, and what drove him, I don't know. You have the Jack Nicholson, who was also a gangster, but in a very different way, in a much more what is that, the 19 20s 30s way, so whatever that noir type of way was. So you take a look at how you want your Joker to be, but I think what always has made the Joker more exciting is the mystery behind him, and why he's doing this, and he's doing this for a reason, but why is he doing this? That's what I've always thought. Hope for Life says, how is your comic coming? Dude, don't even. If I had time, I would let you know. It's not coming very well, let me tell you. It's not coming very well. Johnny, do you think the DCU Lois baby would be named Damien? No, just kidding. Elijah, imagine Alan Tudyk's secret role in Superman is Brainiac. Well, that'd be interesting. Cal Constantine, there's 1,000 Jokers and 1,000 origins. The best adaptations were DCAU and Jerome and Gotham. Jerome and Gotham was not bad. I give him that. Tio says, to me, the most realistic Joker is Ayer's Joker. That legit, oh boy. I always wanted to see the real Jared Leto Joker, I will admit. And I did look, I some of you may disagree with me. The interaction between Jared Leto Joker and Batman and Zack Snyder's Justice League was chef's kiss. Loved it. Absolutely love that interaction. But I want to see more of them. I've always wanted to see more of them. All right. I've got to start getting out of here, guys. It is getting late. So let's start wrapping this up here. You realize it's over an hour already. Yeah, crazy. Neighbors as a comic collector, if so, what are some of your favorite comics? Honestly, I I'm always I I I really got into wanting to collect comics. Like, I talked about this in the past. When I was younger, I dabbled in comics a little bit. Where I grew up, there wasn't any comic book shops around me. I could only get comics off of a spinner rack at my local supermarket. So, like, I picked up like Spider-Man comics occasionally, and that was pretty much all they had were Marvel comics there. And I was much more of a video gamer at the time, but I still read comics. But I watched a lot of like Batman the animated series, Spider-Man the animated series, X-Men the animated series, that kind of stuff. So that's like how I got my superhero, injections. Like that's how I got it. Obviously the movies as well. Once I got older, I was a big Star Wars nerd too, so that's what I was more into. But as I got older, that's when I started getting more into the comics and reading the comics. So like I started getting into the graphic novel side, Kingdom Come and the Death of Superman and Dark Knight Returns and all that kind of stuff. All those things were really big. That's what I loved reading were the big graphic novels and the Watchmen and things like that. The big popular things are what I was reading and getting into. And then back when the new 52 launched, I was like, oh, the one thing that's always hard with comics is like, where do you start? How do you start collecting comics? Because that's the big question. Where do you start collecting comics? How do you collect comics? And not having a comic book store around to even ask somebody or somebody who's knowledgeable, like, how do you know? Like, where do you start? So the new 52 launched, and I was like, okay, I'm going to start here. But it was already like a year into the new 52 and I was already behind and I was like so I bought a couple new 52 but just kind of like I bought a couple of the first issues that were coming at like that came out like in reprints and stuff like that. Still didn't. And then Rebirth happened and I was there for Rebirth. So the first year of Rebirth, like I got all the first issues of all the big comics there and I was really like collecting all that stuff and I have a huge stack, like a long box worth of all these Rebirth comics, and I was like, yeah, let's go. I was all excited about it, but then I was just like, Rebirth just isn't good. Like it started all right, and I was digging like the Flash stuff and the Batman stuff in Rebirth. It was really good, and then Doomsday Clock was also pretty cool at that time. I was collecting those. I was like, these are pretty good, and then it just got really bad, and then I just kind of gave up. So honestly, like for me, when it comes to it, like if you want any advice, I say pick a hero. Like pick like, are you a fan of the Flash? Are you a fan of Batman? Like who's your character? Even if you're going to Marvel side or even outside the big, like are you like a Spawn fan? Are you, do you like Sandman? Go to Vertigo or something like that. Like what do you like? And go and just collect that. Like just go find your favorite stories there and just collect those favorite stories from that specific hero, that character, and start there. That's the best way to do it. Listen to some of the people, like my favorite story is Kingdom Come. I love Kingdom Come, and I recommend that to everybody. Read Kingdom Come. It is an amazing story. You can pick it up in graphic novel form. They have it in book form. Go pick that up. Dark Knight Returns is another graphic novel that's great. You can pick that up too. But again, just start there if you want some advice. Don't worry about trying to buy a whole run of something. Just pick up the stories that you think are great. And if you want some help in figuring that out, there's some great Reddit threads. And if you have a local comic book shop, sometimes you can stop there and they might be able to help you too. If you're lucky enough to have a local comic book shop. Jay Burns says, great picks. Thank you. Muffin Healer says Jared Leto Joker without tattoos is better. Yeah. Stupid autocorrect. Watcher says, can't go wrong with Batman animated series. Actually, I highly recommend people watch those shows to get a feel for Gunn DCU. Ray J365, I like the way you think, Watcher. Jay Burns, if you haven't yet, Absolute Batman is amazing. I've heard Absolute Batman is amazing. I actually want to buy it. I actually might just order it because did issue 2 come out yet? I've heard so many people talk about it. I want to grab it. I don't know why I haven't. Again, I wish I had a comic book shop. I guess I could just order it. I don't know. Blackest Night is the best story. Blackest Night is great. Hope for Life. It is great. It is a great story. I read that like 7 years ago. That's a great story. Watcher says, I also highly recommend people try the DC compact books. They're $10 and it's easy to start. Just pick a story and follow the volumes. Yeah. Excellent. All right, guys. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you for dealing with my mess of a stream today because my comment section wasn't working. So our chat section wasn't working. So thank you for dealing with that. This was a great stream. I had a lot of fun. Thank you for the comments. Again, don't forget, if you're not a member, this Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern, a member-only live stream, $2.99 a month, guys. You can become a member. It's going to be awesome. You can support me and the channel. It'd be great. This has been the Watchtower. Next Monday, we'll be back with a live show for our normal live show. And then next Thursday, the Watchtower again. So with all that said, guys, I will talk at all of you. Whoops, hit the wrong button. Later.